Okay, let's dive into this. Jim, here we go. Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. With me today is Dr. Jim McDannald, and he is in Canada. He is an American podiatrist who now lives in Canada. And I asked Jim, how do I describe what you do or who you are? So his business name is actually called Podiatry Growth, but he is a podiatrist that does digital marketing. And he was back on episode 123, the 5 elements of an online presence. But today we're going to talk about collaborating with other colleagues. So Dr. Jim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Tyson. Thanks for having me back.
No, it's good. I like to have repeat offenders. Well, normally especially when you do the first episode and you get a lot of positive feedback from it, so it makes you realize, okay, I need to get that person back to talk again. But I thought this topic of collaborating with other people, because you and I are collaborating on something at the moment, which we'll talk about later. But what are the benefits of podiatrists collaborating?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we do, going through school, through residency. I mean, sometimes we feel competitive with our colleagues and, classmates, but at the same time, like we're all striving for the same thing. And there's just so many different benefits. I said the biggest benefit is that continued learning and knowing that you're not on this kind of journey by yourself. I mean, yes, you've learned a lot, both, clinically, academically, but it's business out there as well. And if you can learn from mentors, your colleagues, you're just so much better off than trying to go it alone.
I think it's funny, actually, when you mentioned when we're going through university, we are forced, even through high school, you are forced to work together in groups. They don't say everyone just go off and do your own project. And a lot of times you'll be paired up, or there might be 3 or 4 of you in a group, and they'll say, work on this particular project and then present it to us. And there's always that one lazy person in the group. There's always one. My daughter complains about it all the time at school. But as a group, a collective mind, you tend to come up with better ideas, or you challenge each other on the ideas that you have.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think, during I guess in North America, there is kind of this individual idea that you're going to do it yourself. You're going to pull your own self up by your own bootstraps in a way, and that you want to be the top of the class. But at the same time, when you're doing these group projects, like you said, maybe someone has a perspective or ideas or has been through something that you just never really thought of. So having outside perspectives, ideas allows you to kind of make better decisions and to really understand kind of what's out there in a way.
So how do you think podiatrists can collaborate more with each other? Because I've seen it with, I was mentioning to you before, Simon Bartold, and he works with another guy, Paul Griffin, and they have Bartold Clinical that they work together on. And there's I've seen other younger podiatrists getting together now, and they're doing like rehab clinics together and extra training. So have you got some ideas on how the average podiatrist in a clinic could collaborate with other podiatrists?
No, I think there's lots of great examples out there everywhere, from podiatry students that I see creating online publications together. One example, what I think of is the folks that put together the Hallex magazine. They're doing stuff on social media, but they're also having a website that kind of highlights some of the great things that podiatry is doing in order to kind of attract kind of the generation of pre-med students to the profession of podiatry in North America. So that's one example, obviously kind of the younger generation, but I think it also comes down to what do people want to get better at, or what do they want to learn, right? Some people are just more drawn to the more academic surgical learning aspects of things. One example of this is there's a group of podiatrists in New Mexico that have a foot and ankle surgical academy, which is a really cool idea. They're basically creating high definition videos of all the different types of foot and ankle surgery they're doing, and then have a monthly membership website where they give discounts to residents and to students, but they also have this growing library of not only the showing of the surgeries they do, but basically walking through step by step about how they approach those problems. I think that kind of openness and that kind of sharing, it's based off first what you kind of want to do or what you want to put out there, but then kind of finding that right technical model, or what kind of sharing, or what do you want to put out there together, or what is the benefit not only to yourself but to the profession or to your colleagues.
Yeah, I do like that idea, especially the whole education side of things, putting stuff together, and then sharing it with other people in the profession, those that are interested. So it's no different to like the Podiatry Business Owners Club on Facebook that I set up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other Facebook groups as well. But just by setting that up and bringing podiatrists into one place, it gives the opportunity for people to ask questions, share ideas, get feedback. And what I notice is interesting in those groups and a lot of the other groups, it seems to be the same people that are sharing, the same people that are commenting, whether it's positive or negative. Sometimes it's not always positive. The Podiatry Business Owners Club is positive. If anyone's negative, I boot them out. So I can just see where bringing collective minds. What I was looking at, you may notice I was on my phone looking for something, and I was trying to find something that I could show you that I think is a great example of, and I can't find it, which is really bugging me. Don't mind me, is because they changed the name slightly. So, but that's all right. I'll edit that out of the podcast, and here we go. This is him here. What are they calling themselves now? Okay. It used to be the DPM journey. Now it's the podiatry journey.
Oh yeah.
With Diksha and Yona.
Yeah.
And here they are. They are two podiatrists who are collaborating together, sharing their experiences, actually going through university. And at the moment, they've got 2,421 followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And I'll guarantee, and there's a lot of other people that are doing other similar things on social media, which I think are great. And I reckon a lot of them, by the time they graduate, everyone is going to know who they are. And it's because they're working with other people.
Yeah, and it's that thing. It's like when you're collaborating with others and you're kind of held accountable in a way, but just that kind of feeding off the energy of somebody. Maybe they're having a tough clerkship somewhere, and they need the kind of that lift from their colleague or their, that's in a clerkship that's maybe a little bit lighter that can kind of carry the load. So when you have someone to kind of bounce ideas off of, work together towards a common goal, it's just a bit more motivating. I mean, some people are lone wolves and just want to do it themselves, but I mean, I think there's a real benefits of like, having a common goal with somebody. And like you said, the channels are there now, right? Like you've got a podcast, I do online video. Both have websites. It's not, it's no longer rocket sciences. You don't have to learn how to code. You can either hire people to do it for you, or the tools are simple enough where you can make an Instagram post per day, or start a group on a certain topic and really kind of grow a conversation around it in a way.
Well, it could be anything. It doesn't matter what interest. If you have an interest in podiatry in any particular area, you could very simply set up a Facebook page and talk about that topic. And I'll guarantee there will be dozens and dozens of other podiatrists that want to talk about the same subject or who want to learn more about that subject. And collaboratively, you can actually learn from each other.
No, for sure. And if there's a good exchange of value there, it definitely is a page or a group that will grow. Sometimes you see some of the, I don't know if they're initially collaborations, but some of the pages get so big, or, they're not being kind of watched closely enough and kind of go off the rails. But at the same time, there are lots of great groups there in Facebook and kind of around the internet to kind of take part in, for sure.
Yeah. One of the best things I've seen is when sometimes some of those groups can get a little bit personal. Where someone will mention something and then somebody else will say something, and all of a sudden it's slightly gone off track from where it was and gets a little personal. And the one thing I've noticed that brings it back on track or stops the conversation, and someone mentions a whiskey comment. Oh, I just opened a nice bottle of whiskey, a 15-year-old such and such. All of a sudden it sort of ends the conversation, and then it goes off into a friendlier sort of conversation. So if somebody was listening to this now, and say they are a solo practitioner, and there might be an area where there's not a lot of podiatrists around them, would you have any ideas on what they should do to get started if they wanted to do some form of collaboration with somebody else?
Yeah, I guess it's a first kind of like identifying themselves, kind of either what they want to learn or what they think they have a strength in a certain area of podiatry, whether that's an academic side, they want to learn how to either, create a residency or take part in a residency, or they like a specific type of surgery. Just know what area of podiatry, not necessarily is your passion, but something you feel knowledgeable about and you feel like you can contribute to. And then, that's a great thing about Google, Facebook, all these places. You can search and see if there's something available out there, whether this is a, a membership group on Facebook, if this is something that is not in the world that, maybe you go to a meetup or a conference now that we're kind of coming back to the real world, or
Yeah.
not everything has to happen on Zoom anymore. And just making those kind of, gradual, genuine connections with others that have a shared interest. Maybe, partnering with one of the bigger associations, whether it be ACFAS or APMA or something, and helping those folks. So you have to kind of find, maybe it's a political aspiration. You want to help, promote the profession on a governmental or a federal level. There's so many different types, but it first starts with kind of knowing what you get excited about, and then seeing what's out there. And if something is not out there, you don't have to start from scratch by yourself. There's probably other people that would like to do it with you. So don't be shy about feeling the need to start something if it doesn't already exist. Because I mean, we're all learning by, you learn best by doing. You're not just going to learn, or you're not going to without the kind of collaboration of others really adds to the overall conversation. It'll give you insights and perspective you wouldn't have if you just did solo deep dives all the time. You'll kind of be you can kind of go down a lot of rabbit holes if you don't have some people on your side to pull you out of those sometimes. So
yeah, definitely agree. And I think what you said too about the associations, if you want to be involved in the association or what they're doing, you need to just put your hand up.
Yeah.
Tell them, I want to be involved, whether it's continuing education, or I want to be involved in the next conference that you put together. And it's
or you don't,
yeah.
Or you don't like the direction something is going, right? You think, oh, this association is too much doing this. Well, if you're part of that association, you have a voice and a vote in that association to kind of steer the direction of where that's going. So it's a matter of just, finding the time and energy to advocate for yourself and for what you think is the right course for that association. Because that, without membership, there wouldn't be associations.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with our association, I think. It's but I think I'm not a member anymore. I was been a member multiple times, and then got out again. And I was actually on the council at one stage twice, I think. And sometimes you just know when you don't fit in a particular group. And I'm not saying that associations are good or bad, or that you should or shouldn't join them. But I feel you should feel that you feel part of something if you're going to be a member. And if you're a member of something and you do not feel that you have a voice, you do not feel that you fit, then maybe you just got to go and find a different group. So which is pretty much what I did.
Yeah, well, it has to be something you feel like you want to give some of yourself to, right? You don't want to just be a passive along for the ride, pay the dues each year. And if you're just a part of a bunch of associations like that, you're really not going to be, improving that association, improving your knowledge, or really contributing to the profession or your colleagues. You got to niche down, find something you're excited about, and really just kind of it doesn't have to be, 10 or 20 hours a week or a month or anything. Yeah. Just a couple hours each week, moving a small project forward with just one colleague or a couple colleagues can, whether that's a small little mastermind, a small little journal club, ways to improve the care you're providing patients, but also to improve the business side of things, can make a world of difference, on a gradual scale. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you treat it that way, you'll look back in 6 months or a year and just realize how far you've come.
Yeah. And even with, when I was just talking about the association, I know people that have been members of the association for decades, have gotten so much out of being part of the association because it fits with who they are and what they do. And they go to conferences, they always learn something, they always pick up something new. Whereas I would bang heads with them because I'm saying, why isn't there any business content? Oh, because our members don't want it. Going, well, how come I talk to the members and they say they do want it? Right. So for what I wanted to do, and yeah, I just felt there was a clash there. So it wasn't really working for me. But I think if you do get something out of associations, you need to be involved, and you need to help them sort of progress progress in the future anyway.
No, for sure. Change is always going on, right? It's not, nothing is set in stone. So, little changes over time can make a big difference. And like you said, just putting in the time and effort into helping these associations kind of stay, recent and kind of ahead of the curve, because things are always kind of, changing in medicine, especially kind of in the digital age. So
yeah, and I think you need to be around other people in your profession. That's the one thing that I think is very helpful with associations in those sort of groups, is just being around other people. And I know I was talking to someone on my old podcast, It's No Secret with Dr. T, and one of the guys on there gave me an awesome hack. And he said, some people won't go to conferences because they can't afford to go. It might be $1,000 to go to the conference, and they go, I don't have the money. He said, but just turn up. He said, turn up. If it's in a certain motel, just turn up and hang around the lobby. You will end up talking to people there and have some awesome conversations around the bar, sitting in the lobby area, maybe at a restaurant that night. And you can get just as much out of an event, even if you don't necessarily go to the conference. You may get a lot of collaboration and time with other people in your profession just by being in the town while the event is actually happening.
Well, that's the thing I miss most about conferences myself, is like, yeah, getting on stage and giving a talk is fun in some ways, and kind of a jolt and an adrenaline, kick in the pants every once in a while. But it's those after the talk conversation, the hallway conversations, the dinners with a resident mate or like a classmate who brought in a couple of his partners in. We just catch up about what's been going on, and just those are the kind of like connections that I think now that we're kind of getting back to like gradually getting back to normal here in the US and Canada, I'm looking forward to, having those conversations, just kind of catching up with folks. And that's kind of where some of these ideas for these collaborations can happen, right? It's like,
definitely
out having dinner at a conference. It's not, well, this doesn't exist. You don't want to work with me a little bit on this. I mean, sometimes setting up a schedule to like, hey, we're going to have a Zoom and we're going to talk about this thing. It sometimes doesn't feel super formal, but like it's one of those things you've got to put in your calendar. But when you have that kind of, it feels sometimes a little bit more organic. You're at a conference and it's just, you can progress things maybe even faster in person sometimes. I love online and digital stuff, but I do look forward to those in-person events in the not too distant future.
Oh, you can't beat face to face. I know when you go to a conference, I think the last big one I went to was Osgo Foot and Ankle Show in Liverpool in the UK. There was like 1,000 people in the room. And I remember getting up there on stage and I'm just going, my God, I was so nervous getting up there. But once you got up there, it was so good. And the crowd was great. And you come off and you get the applause. Yeah, it was all fun. But it was the conversations that you had with people afterwards, whether it was about the talk that you just did, or it was just people talking about other things. And there's probably about 20 people that have been on my podcast since then that have just come about through being at that event and getting to talk to them and getting to know them. And then you never know, once you meet someone face to face like that and you have that little bit of connection. Amy McLean, she was one that said, you got to find your podiatry gang. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what the episode number was, but yeah, it was all about finding your podiatry gang. And I think that's where your collaborations start. Is you find your people that you click with, you stay in touch with them, you see them at the next event or the next online event, and you gradually just, if you have similar ideas, then you just let them flourish and start to grow.
No, for sure.
So yes, bring back the live events. I didn't think you realized how much you missed something until it's taken away from you.
Yeah, I mean, I had my flights last year for the Chicago Midwest Podiatry Conference. That's where I went to school. A lot of my colleagues still practice in that area. A couple of my podiatry school classmates were going to meet me there. It was going to be the first time I'd kind of been at a podiatry conference in a little while. And it was, it was still, it was like April or May, and you canceling flights, and it just was, I'm sure everyone's gone through this that's listening to this or seeing this now, but just to kind of get back to like reconnecting with, friends and classmates and stuff is just something that, it's going to lead to, different opportunities and ways to collaborate with others that I just really looking forward to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, here in Australia, we're still slightly restricted. I think even the podiatry conference, which is on at the moment as we're recording this, normally it's a 2-day event, I think, or 3, can't remember. This is when they do the national one, and this time they're doing it's all online, but it's over about a 2-week period. So they're just spreading out the speakers, because I think trying to do 8 hours online for 3 days would just kill people. So spreading it out is probably a good idea, but I'm sure even the association here is hanging out for when they can have live events again. Whether they talk about business or not, I still reckon there's going to be a lot of people that will be wanting to go to it and just see each other face to face. I know I'll be there.
I know that there's been some conferences in the US that have already kind of gone back to in-person pre-COVID times, but where I live currently in Montreal, if you leave and then it's more when you come back is where you'd have issues. Right now, there's a three-day mandatory hotel stay, and then 14-day quarantine even if you're double vaccinated for right now. So it's just not worth it until it opens back up. But that's just the state of things. And like I said, like these opportunities to collaborate and work with others will, sometimes they're in person and sometimes they're even digital. So I'll let you the good part. Explain that.
Yeah, well, that's the good part. I actually think the positives from COVID, other than all the negatives of COVID, and the deaths and all that type of thing, but just the positive of COVID, I think a lot of people have connected online a lot more. So when I kicked off the 12-week podiatry business reboot, that all started because of the whole COVID situation. I couldn't run any live events. I couldn't do anything. And somebody said, have you thought about doing an online training group? I went, no. And so I kicked that off like over a year ago. I'm doing group 5 at the moment, which is going on really well. And which leads me onto how you and I are collaborating, which is how we came up with this title. So I'm doing group 6 starting on the 8th of September, which is going to be like 5:30 p.m., 8th of September, 2021. But you and I are getting together, and that's going to be for Australian, New Zealand, and UK podiatrists, or anyone that's in that time zone. But you and I are getting together, and we're doing a North American version of the 12-week podiatry business reboot. And you and I are actually going to be doing it together. So we're collaborating, and it's going to be a little bit of a twist on the one that I've already done.
Yeah, this is going to be the first time we can introduce, have a US and Canadian time zones, so it can be convenient for people that live in North America. So yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity to, collaborate with you and, up people's game when it comes to, the business side of podiatry, but also, baking a little bit of digital marketing and some online ideas into how to grow their practice. So
yeah, so it's going to be like, it's going to be a 12-week reboot that I've normally done, but we're maneuvering some parts around to have a bit more digital content. So it's going to be on Tuesday. It's going to start Tuesday night, your time, isn't it? Tuesday night, the 7th. And I think we said, is it 8:30 p.m.?
Yep, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
So that will actually be for anyone in Australia. If you happen to want to do that one, it's going to be 10:30 a.m. on the Wednesday, but it's going to be targeted towards North America. So Canada and the United States, which is going to be fun. And this is like my first, like I've collaborated with other people outside of podiatry a lot, but this is going to be a fun collaboration with another podiatrist doing something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, you've had such great responses from the folks that have taken it in Australia and the UK, and to kind of collaborate with you and kind of come up with this kind of blended curriculum. I think it's going to be a real value to the folks from Canada and the US that come in and take part in this 12-week reboot. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to collaborate, but also a great learning experience for the folks that join us. And if people want to learn a little bit more, they can go to podiatrygrowth.com/reboot for the US and Canadian version, and then you can go to your website, right? To learn a little bit more.
So if you're in the UK, New Zealand, Australia, you go to my website, tysonfranklin.com, just look for the 12-week reboot emblem, click on that, and that'll take you to the reboot page. And if you're in North America, you go to Jim's website, which is podiatrygrowth.com as a /reboot. That's how you got it set up.
Yep, that's how I got it set up.
It's going to be fun. And what you've done is you made me take out some of my jokes that I normally use because normally when I say them, it's either offensive to people in North America or they don't get the joke. But at least my Jimmy Hoffa joke, I think, will work in the North.
It's going to kill. So hopefully they didn't hear you just ruin the punchline there. But I mean, yeah, it's a good one. And yeah, we've turned it a little bit from Aussie, New Zealand into a little bit of more US and Canada. But I think, it's going to be fun. And no, I'm just really looking forward to it, Tyson.
So if someone's listening to this now and they want to collaborate with somebody else, I think one of the best things you can do, first of all, if you're sitting in your clinic by yourself and you're going, I want to connect with more podiatrists. I think online is probably the easiest thing to start. Jumping on Facebook, getting into groups, and actually instead of just sitting back in the shadows, watching what everybody else is doing, is go to your keyboard and click like, and then actually click the comment thing and write something in there. Just share your thought and opinion. And you'll be surprised sometimes, not everybody online is evil. Or we're not evil. I know there are some evil podiatrists out there, but in general, if you type something or you have a question, I tell you, so many people are willing to help or want to work with you to work things out.
No, that's a thing I found too, right? Like it's just it's a worldwide community of folks that want to, work with each other and kind of uplift the profession, their colleagues. So that's what I'm excited most about with this kind of 12-week reboot with you, is to do those things. And like you said, you gotta, if you're just kind of sitting there in your office by yourself, like taking an action is that first step, whether it be asking a question or finding that topic, that area that you want to participate in or contribute to. Just take that first step and it just builds on itself.
Yeah, the part I find interesting too is when I've done the reboot and the people that are in that group, how much they actually connect with each other over that 12 weeks. But when you kick off the first part of it, everyone's a little bit quiet. They're sort of, they're just sussing each other out. And by about the third or fourth week, they're actually starting to interact with each other a bit more. And then usually by the 12th week, they're actually quite friendly with the people that are in the group. And I think that's with anything online, whether it's a 12-week reboot or you're doing something else, whether it's just in a Facebook group or some other group you're part of, is initially it does feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit outside your comfort zone doing something different if you haven't done it before. But if you're in a Facebook group, is participate. And it'll feel uncomfortable and you're putting yourself out there. You think, oh, am I going to get hurt? You won't get hurt. Just get involved, and then you'll find you'll start to enjoy it. And then you'll find people, like Amy said, you'll find your gang. You'll start to find there's more people like you than you think.
Well, part of the fun of collaboration is generating camaraderie with others, right? Obviously, you and I are going to be kind of leading people on this journey, but the other people that come along with them, you're going to form bonds, learning experiences, see perspectives from other Canadian and American podiatrists for the one that Tyson and I are doing together. And then if you're doing the one with Tyson from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, when you form those bonds and that camaraderie with some of your colleagues, like it's just going to stimulate your mind in ways that you hadn't thought about, and you'll approach problems from a new perspective and feel a little less stuck with certain things. You'll have people you can bounce ideas and have a sounding board, whether it's me or Tyson or people in the group that are going along with you. It's just a way to continue to build kind of a general sense of camaraderie that's extremely valuable. Whether you're a solo practitioner or you're the youngest person in your practice, or you're just getting started. There's lots that can be learned at every stage of the journey.
Yeah, it's funny that I look at when I have done some of my marketing workshops when they were face-to-face early last year before COVID sort of put an end to that. But then a couple of weeks back, I ran like an audio marketing workshop down on the Gold Coast. So a lot of the people that were in that are in my Spartans group. But they had been at other events together as well. And it's fun when you see people who now have a connection, and they're in different parts of Australia. Yeah, they don't see each other, but when they actually come together in a room, because they've got to know each other online and socially, when they are actually face to face, it's like they've known each other for ages. And there's a couple of people that are in the Spartans group that have done the 12-week reboot from the UK. And even though I'm doing a retreat in August up here in Cairns, now if the borders are open, I reckon a couple of them would be jumping on planes and coming over for it. But they can't. But I know the people in Australia who are coming to the retreat in Cairns, they're all looking forward to catch up with each other again, because it's just they've got a common interest in becoming better podiatrists, better business people, better parents. And I think when you hang around people with common interests, you can't help but it's all self-improvement.
For sure.
So Jim, I'm just looking at the time here. I said we're going to keep this one relatively short, which I think we've done. So once again, if people want to know about the 12-week reboot, 12-week podiatry business reboot for North America, which is Canada and USA, just go to podiatrygrowth.com / what do you say?
I say / reboot.
Just slash. Everyone knows which one.
/ reboot.
/ reboot. And then if they are in Australia, UK, and New Zealand, or even South Africa, I think the time zone fits in, just go to tysonfranklin.com, find the 12-week reboot emblem, click on that, and all the details are basically there. And the details on both their pages are very similar. So people can go and check them out. But they register for North America on your page, register for my one that I run on my page. And that keeps everything nice and simple. So, Jim, thank you very much for coming on the podcast and talking about collaboration. And I hope more people go out there and actually do it.
For sure. Thanks for having me. It was fun collaborating with you on this podcast, and I'm looking forward to the reboot this fall for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So thanks a lot.
No problem.